Hello, Lemonade Legend listeners and viewers. I hope you all are doing well and adjusting to our time of quarantine right now. You just have to love technology right now, and Zoom especially. And this is how I'm able to keep up with my podcast and my fabulous guest. And so this is Michelle Fowles at Lemonade Legend Podcast. We elevate the voices of people who have great lemonade stories to share and helpful tips and all kinds of good information for you business people out there. So without further ado, my special guest today is Tracy St Croi. And I don't even want to try to, introduce what you do because this is a little out of my element, but I'm intrigued and I am excited to learn more about you. So I'm going to turn it over to you to give yourself an introduction and a little bit about what you do.
Well, thanks, Michelle, for having me on here talking about how to make sweet lemonade out of a couple of sour lemons that we oftentimes get handed in life. And yes, I am an afterlife connection specialist and intuitive. And like you said, your audience might be curious, like, whoa, wait a minute, you're going way out of your lane. What's this woman doing here? Uh-oh, Kit Kat coming in.
That's okay.
I know. And honestly, my whole message to the business world is a lot about how intuitive abilities are built in us all. And it's just a skill set that we're never taught in, traditional school. But it's always there for us to tap into. We just have to get a really good structure to find out how it works for us. I call it, everybody has intuition, and it's like a hidden app.
That's a good description, the hidden app. So here's my question, because you and I have talked before, so I kind of get it, the intuitive part, and that we all can tap into that.
Yeah.
To me, it goes a deeper layer with you in being able to be an afterlife connection specialist. I mean, so I guess what I'm asking is, do we all have that ability too? Or
to speak with our loved ones in spirit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We just need to figure out how to open up to that.
There's a couple of different things. Usually people who are born mediums are born mediums. Okay. But everybody can receive a message or a sign or a symbol from their loved ones in spirit. They don't have to be a highly qualified medium. So for instance, I know when one of my grandmothers is around me all the time because I smell her Salem cigarettes. I'll just get this whiff of Salem cigarettes and I know she's around. I know that other relatives in spirit are around, like when I see ladybugs in very random, odd places. So it's about simply asking for signs that we can see in the physical world, because we like the tangibility, we like the evidence, right? Show me, show me. I'm from the show me state, so I'm like, show me.
That's another discussion, but I've never understood. Well, Missouri is a show me state.
I just made that up. I made that up totally. So I don't know if that's true about, why they came up with that tagline, but for me, that's, I'm like, show me.
That works. So that leads me, because you said something about some mediums are just born that way. So were you born that way, or did you have experiences in your childhood that helped you learn how to tap into that?
I was definitely, as Lady Gaga says, baby, I was born this way. There was no doubt about it. In my industry, there's a saying that all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums.
Okay.
And as a child, I definitely had the ability to communicate with the other side. Now, I didn't know that's what was occurring. I thought what I was doing was kind of normal. I grew up, I was surrounded by graveyards. So the backyard was a huge cemetery, across the street was a huge cemetery, and then we add on the cherry on the top, the funeral across the street, the funeral home.
Oh, okay, you're starting to freak us all out now.
But as a little child, I just had a lot of imaginary friends. And looking back, most kids who have imaginary friends aren't older ladies who are in Victorian dresses that are, yeah, but I did. And I didn't think that it was that abnormal, but as I started to be able to get vocal and cognizant of what was happening, my family was just like, yeah, no. Wait, no. So it got shut down, basically.
So they were uncomfortable with it.
Oh, very much so. I was raised, my father was a detective, so he was not having
So
any
talk
of
about
that.
black and white.
But I mean, he did, I did give him a few experiences as a child and growing up that literally made his jaw drop. So,
Wow. So I do have to, it doesn't really have anything to do with your story, but I just wanted to share when I said you were kind of freaking us out, but I used to live in an older section in a town in a suburb in Illinois for a period of time, and it had this old graveyard there. And it was right there close to where we were, and we would take walks through it. And I tell you, it was so interesting. I mean, I didn't feel anybody there, I didn't, but I just loved the history, like reading the tombstone and the dates of birth and death, and then seeing a family, member, same last name and their time on earth. And I would just weave stories in my head, imaginary stories of what might have been going on, with these people. And it was really pretty cool. So, yeah.
yeah, I dig graveyards. I do the same thing. I like to walk through them and feel the history around them. And, as children, we used to play hide and go seek and tag in the graveyards. It was normal.
Yeah. For you, for some people, maybe not for everybody.
Maybe not for everybody. And I totally get that. I see a good graveyard and I want to pull over and just kind of wander around in it for a minute. And that's just the kind of,
Well, Tracy, we don't live in the same state, but somehow we'll have to figure out how to get together and go on a graveyard hopping day.
Oh, yes. Coffee in the graveyards. And, a little tip, most graveyards are not that haunted. A lot of spirits don't hang around graveyards. Because think about it. If you die and cross over, do you really want to go hang around your grave?
No, you want to go find your people.
You want to go haunt the people you told you were going to haunt. No.
Yeah, I'm going to get back at you now.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So that's so fun to talk about and fun to have a little giggle. But I know from our previous conversation that it really has a place in business as well. And that intrigued me. And that's what I really kind of want to focus on. So I understand your childhood experience and, you kind of had this from birth, but I also know you mentioned to me that you've also had training. So this isn't just what you were born with.
Correct. I like to tell everybody too, you can have a gift or a talent, you can be naturally born with something, but unless you have, schooling or a good structure behind it, it's not going to be worth its weight in gold. So some kids are born really great, musicians. Well, what do their parents do? They send them to classes, they send them to school, they get them into groups, they, let them learn. And the same thing is with me. So when I came to acceptance is what I say, because I got voluntold I was going to do this. And when I came to acceptance about it, I said, okay, God, if this is my destiny, if this is the path we have chosen to co-create together, I'm going to go to the cream of the crop school. I'm not going to get trained on this stuff by anybody who isn't less than 100% with integrity, in line with values, and knows how to really take somebody at my level and teach them how to go all the way up to the top. And
So
that's what
you
I
didn't
do.
have a gypsy lady sitting behind the crystal ball teaching you how to do this.
No,
Sorry.
no offense to the gypsy lady sitting behind the crystal ball doing this. She's probably helping somebody somewhere. But for me, I found Arthur Findlay College of Psychic Sciences, and that's the cream of the crop. And so I went there. And so it is, like I tell people, no, Hogwarts does exist, and it's called Arthur Findlay College.
You know, who'd have thunk? There's a college.
It is, and it's a huge castle,
That's amazing.
very haunted, very Victorian.
Of
You
course.
eat there, you sleep there, you go to school there, you practice your craft there. Yep.
Harry Potter.
It is. It's freaking Harry Potter. You get into different houses, you get split up into groups. It's yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
So that's where the cream of the crop taught at. So that's where I decided to get my training through.
Okay. So let's talk about how it fits into the business world, how you can grow your business, how you can tap into that intuition to reach your goals and be successful.
Yeah. So everybody has had a hunch. Everybody has had a gut feeling about somebody or a situation in their life. And I got to a point, and I talk about this in my book, I got to a point where my business was really, really growing. And I knew intuitively I had to get connected with business people because they know how to take a business from where I'm at to where I want to go. And really, I just sat down and I prayed for help. I prayed for guidance. And I talk about this in my book. And boy, oh boy, I got it. I got dropped right into, the Small Business Expo. And it was everything I could have dreamed of and even more to be connected with that network. And what I started to realize was how I could help people in the business world tap into their intuition to use that to make decisions about employment, about contracts, about finding locations for their business, everything from personal to business decisions. I realized I was like, oh, I can really help them.
Wow. Okay. And I believe that. I mean, I know for me personally, I'm just going to say, my version of prayer and faith in God, gives me a certain amount of guidance. So I guess what I want to say is I know that there's an ability to tap inside, whether you want to call it, God leading you or intuition, or I think there's some common themes there. But I believe you have to really open up your heart and soul to hear it, feel it, understand what it is. So that's, I think, why I get so intrigued about what you're doing to help people do that. So if you can, I know everyone's unique in what's going on, their businesses and things, but give me a little bit of a snapshot of what sitting with a business person might be like and how you're helping to guide them.
So typically what I do, especially with new clients that want to work with me, I'll do an hour-long consultation with them to first off see if we even fit together, if we're even going to mesh. And then, I go through about, what are their values in their business? Where are your goals at? What are you wanting to create? Where do you think you're kind of where you keep falling into a pothole at? And we talk about the business a little bit so I can kind of get a feel of what they're doing. And then usually what we do is we schedule calls. It can be once a week. Some clients have me twice a month. And then we just go through we focus on specifically on business strategy. So we talk about, okay, this is what I feel about your sales department. This is what I feel about marketing. what's going on over here, because this is what I sense. You know, oftentimes I'll get, my clients will, some of my extremely high-end clients can call me whenever they want, but they will call me and they will say, okay, I've got 3 names on the table to hire, you know, tell me what you sense about them. And I'll tell them, and they'll say, okay, well, that matched up exactly what my gut was telling me. Because a lot of times CEOs will have somebody that looks great on paper and interviews well, but they'll call me and they'll say, Trace, my stomach was turning. Like something just told me, do not hire this person. And I said, then don't, because you don't want to find out what's on the other side of that.
Do you feel a lot of responsibility, you know, in having those conversations?
I do. You know, I have a lot of responsibility when I'm talking to, you know, people in business, because, you know, it's a lot of decisions. And when it comes down to it, I tell all my business owners, when it comes down to it, you are the CEO. I am just guidance. And that's what I'm giving you. I'm giving you intuitive guidance, but you're the one who needs to ultimately make the decision with everything that you know now.
Well, I suppose if it's the case, like you mentioned, that for the CEO, it seems to line up to their gut feeling. They're going to go with that. You know,
Yeah.
they're going to say, okay, you and I were sort of on the same wavelength here. And they just needed kind of that confirmation, maybe from you.
They do. And I mean, it's, you know, great things can come out of left field for some of my clients, and things that neither one of us saw coming can come out.
Yeah.
And I tell my clients, like, I'm not God. I'm not going to know everything. I'm not supposed to know everything. So we're not going to go into this with that expectation.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. You know, at least you're setting kind of the ground rules on that. So let's talk about your book. You mentioned a book.
Yes.
I haven't had a chance to get it. I've seen it. It's like it's on my to-read list. But let's talk about that and how the book itself can offer some benefits to individuals.
Right. So I recently published a book called 7 Tips and Tricks on how to
You have it there to
enhance.
show up?
I don't know. My light might be in the background because.
That's good. That's pretty.
Hold on.
It kind of is, but I think we get the sense of it. Okay.
Yay! It is an ebook, so hence just the photo that I have, but it's a gorgeous photo.
It is.
It's called 7 Tips and Tricks on How to Enhance Your Intuition, a practical guide to knowing, loving, and trusting it. And so for all of my entrepreneurs and my business owners, why this book is important to you is because it's going to give you that practical know-how about how to tap into your intuition. And I start with a very beginner's mind. So I start with people, a lot of people who they're kind of like, okay, I'm curious. I'm willing to know about this. And I take you through step by step. And I give you practical, fun exercises and playtime, things to keep track of. I give you a lot of exercises that you can do at home or you can do out. For example, I talk about how to work on your claircognizance, which is the ability to just know information without having facts or evidence to back it up with. And I'll say, during this time, I'll say, if you're going to have 4 Zoom meetings this week, right? Then sit down before those 4 Zoom meetings and maybe see what color shirt somebody's going to have on, or background, or, something very common. Start with that. And I give a lot of cool playtime exercises that you can role play with a friend that's open-minded, and ways to kind of keep track of your intuition, because there's 4 different, abilities that I ask my people to work with in that book. And there's ways to see what is your strength, because in the business world, we go with our strengths and we hire out our weaknesses, right? The same with intuition. Let's work with what's the strongest, and then everything else can be worked out.
So that's pretty cool. Well, now I'm definitely getting it. You hooked me.
And there's free meditations in there where I talk you through about how to kind of relax yourself. Because intuition works when you're calm. Intuition does not work here. Intuition is not logical. Intuition works in your heart, your soul, with God, with whatever you decide to call that. It's not a logical process. And when your mind is calmer, you're able to get that, you know, that kind of that spiritual like nudge.
So I just have to say, because everybody's talking about it right now during COVID-19 quarantine, that's just, it resonates with me as a good time to try and be doing that. Because I know I personally am trying to calm my mind, get out of my head the worry, the anxiety, and let's see this maybe in a different light.
I do. And I have, when you buy the book, you get 2 free downloadable meditations, and one of them is for relaxing.
That's awesome.
And especially, you know, during these very interesting times we live in, Michelle, you know, being able to relax the mind, relax the body, you know, it's going to make it a little bit easier to know what our next right step is. And that's what intuition is. It's direction.
So would you recommend that starting with the book is a great way to sort of embrace it, and then if they want to take it to a deeper level, then reach out to you?
Yes, that's in part why I wrote the book, because so many of my clients were asking me about how do I develop my own intuition, and especially some of my CEOs. And so I wrote a book that's very, you know, takes you from the start, and it gives you all the tools you need to run yourself. And whether that means reaching out to me or finding somebody else that's highly qualified and you trust, then so be it. But I want to give this tool in people's hands and let them know that they can use it.
I would imagine that if you have a CEO that embraces this, is working with you or embracing the idea, that the book could be a good tool to pass down, you know, to management under that.
I have some companies that have requested that their sales team read this, because some of the things that I talk about when I go to companies and talk to sales management teams is I specifically teach them about intuition. Because knowing it, and it's not about like, oh, this client needs this and I'm going to get the deal done. No, it's knowing about how to better communicate with them and listening to what is not said.
That's really cool. It's really intriguing. So I presume you can work with people remotely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God for, you know, I've been working with Zoom for quite a while now. So I kind of feel like I was in the cool kids box for a while before all this started.
Yeah, exactly. So do you get any kind of a different feel whether you're working with somebody through Zoom versus being in a room with them?
You know, being in a room with people, I always love, don't get me wrong, but the energy is still there, whether it's on the phone, whether it's a video call, the energy is still there that I can connect with. A person doesn't have to be physically in my space for me to energetically pick up on them. I like to say intuition does not abide to physics laws of the universe.
Okay, I gotta ask this. You don't have to share what, but I just gotta ask. Are you picking up any energy from me? Is there something that's bouncing around in your head?
Oh, Michelle, you're going to put me on the spot. You know, honestly, what I keep seeing with you, I've seen cupcakes around your head since we keep talking. So are you laying off the sugar or are you craving it?
Actually, that's kind of funny because I'm not a real sweets person, but I am dieting right now. So, and sitting at home, sitting at home, it is so hard to just not go eat. So maybe you're just seeing like, it can be cupcakes or it could be anything, and I'd love to grab it right now.
There you go. And that's how intuition works. And I like to say, intuition is very, sometimes it's real subtle. So it's a language based on numbers and metaphors and symbols. It's a huge lexicon.
Yeah.
And we all just get to know what our signs and symbols mean for ourselves.
Well, I think this is so timely because part of what what I'm doing is giving a platform for people to have a voice and tell their stories. And really, essentially, when they're doing that, they're digging down deep into themselves to pull out their stories. And so I think there's a common theme in there is that by doing that, they're kind of dealing with what's down there in their soul and, either coming to peace with it, forgiving it, whatever it is, so that they can be successful. And I think that we're in a time now where we no longer look at people we do business with as being perfect. We don't want that. We don't need to see them in the suit and tie and the perfectly done hair and expensive shoes and things like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I love expensive shoes. Can't afford them, but I love them. But the point is, I think people are much more comfortable with, that less than perfect side of themselves. And to me, that's all about, you have to tap into yourself to even see that.
Yeah, you gotta, accept yourself. And, I even had to go through my own, rising of the phoenix many a times to get where I'm at, to be, in acceptance that, this was my destiny and path, when I kept trying to wiggle my way around and out of it. Because, society hasn't really accepted this. And that's okay. But it took me a while wrestling around with it to come to acceptance with it myself. And really, I was too stuck in the past of trying to fulfill somebody else's beliefs in what my life needed to look and feel like. And so I had lost what I thought it should.
Yeah, I can imagine that, you had a lot of negative influence to suppress that. And I'm sure a lot of people who couldn't believe you could make a successful business out of being an intuitive.
A lot of years ago, I stopped telling my family about anything I was doing because it was just better to avoid it than to hear it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they understand differently now, but it was a tough go.
So I've really been intrigued by the entire conversation and looking forward to reading your book. I may have to schedule an appointment with you. Got to find out what those cupcakes are about. So do you give a free consultation or do you charge for the initial?
We talk about it. If they're serious about working with me, I'm not going to charge them my full fee for an hour.
Okay.
But yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. And so they can read the book and get more comfortable and familiar with what you do.
Yeah.
And that's available on Amazon, right?
It is available on Amazon, and they can also connect with me, right behind me, Tracy St Croi 360.com, where they can connect with me on any social media platform that they prefer to use and get to know me there too.
That's a good idea.
And buy my book.
Yeah.
Buy my book and connect with me socially.
There you go. Don't start off cold. Let's get the warm fuzzy going first, to understand what you do.
To really understand what I do. And I'm very blessed now because, Michelle, now what I get to do in return is I get to take this base of knowledge that I have because I've met so many wonderful entrepreneurs, and I get to take that out to my to my metaphysical community to show them, hey, there's an easier way to do that. Or, hey, here is somebody I really think that you should connect with and has, some assets for your business.
That's pretty awesome, my dear. Love it. Well, we're going to wrap up, but I just want to make sure, is there anything we haven't covered that you want to make sure you share?
Just sending everybody love and light at this time. And just what I just keep hearing from spirit is, this is passing. This too shall pass. And yeah, it will. This too shall pass.
And we'll see how we reshape it on the other side.
I'm devastated by this as a medium, as an intuitive. It's hard to feel all of this going around in the world. It's hard. But I know from a spiritual basis that there's blessings on the other side. There's something that's going to come out for individuals as well as humanity to take advantage of with this, because without light, there is no shadow. Without shadow, there is no light.
So I think that was really important. Thank you for adding that in, because I think we're all looking for, that sense of hope and understanding. Even though we may never completely understand, I think we need to just hold on to that idea of the light and the shadow, and the good and the bad, and call it what you want. Sometimes life, it just sucks.
Gives you lemonades, really sour lemonades.
Exactly. So,
yes.
I mean, I hate to inundate people with lemons and lemonade, but that's really what it's all about. It's like, what do you do with this situation, and how do you make it better?
It is. And, a lot of my phone calls with clients lately have been a lot of, they're scared.
Yeah.
And rightly so. I'm not that intuitive that's just going to tell you to, light some candles and hum it away.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's good, because I get a little suspect if somebody would tell me exactly,
No, I mean, that's it. If you whether you work with me or you ever work with another intuitive, if you're not connecting with them right away, cut it off, get your money back. If they're asking you for more money to continue the session, or if they're trying to, bribe you that, oh, I'll talk to your grandmother more if you give me money, run.
So good advice.
Or if you get the heebie-jeebies, go.
Yeah. Very good advice. So you're an honest intuitive. I can appreciate that.
I am and that's a part of my business, is that integrity base. Like, I have a joke with my clients that if you want me to lie to you, you got to pay me more.
There you go.
But I mean, that's just, joke. I'm not going to, actually do that. But it's, like we've said before, every entrepreneur has intuitive senses, and I want them to be able to either do one or two things: either hone in on it themselves and use it, or hire somebody who's highly qualified to do it.
Yeah. And you got to figure any entrepreneur was intuitive in the beginning, or they wouldn't be an entrepreneur. They wouldn't have taken the leap that they felt drawn to. But then, a lot of people get stuck.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes from an astrologer, his name is Robert Ohado, and he always says, highly successful entrepreneurs either have a highly developed sense of intuition themselves, or they hire somebody who does. And, just a little sneak peek, you wouldn't believe some of the CEOs and companies in this world that have psychics and astrologers on their payrolls.
Really? Well, you heard it from the industry expert. So, all right. I can't say that's all bad at all. You want to think somebody's guiding them in some fashion. We all need to have mentors and coaches and, you know, the people that we rely on. And if
That's
some of
it.
them are intuitive, so be it.
Exactly. I just tell a lot of my CEOs, look, I'm going to give you that 360 view of your business, and I'm very neutral about it. Because, you know, yeah, I hope that you succeed, but I don't have a stake in the game.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, this has been pretty fascinating.
I know.
I
This has been
really
fun. Thank you, Michelle.
Oh, no, this has been great because it's kind of a takeaway from my norm, which is I love to do, but it still ties in so much for what I do and what I promote. So it was kind of like a breath of fresh air and some new ideas, you know, rolling around in my head. Right.
Yeah, well, anytime you want to chat, you let me know and we can come up with a specific topic. Maybe your audience wants to talk about one specific topic about how to use intuition in their business, and I'd be happy to help.
Well, you heard that, listeners. Just reach out if you've got topics. Tracy's going to come back with us, and we'll tackle that.
Yeah, we could go all kinds of places with this, Michelle, but thank you so much to your lovely audience. I appreciate you having me on here.
Oh, my pleasure. And with that, I want to thank everyone who's listening or viewing in on YouTube. This has been another episode of Lemonade Legend with Tracy St Croi. And we've been talking about being an intuitive, tapping into your own powers to utilize that to guide you on your path to success. And I hope everyone is staying safe
Yes.
and staying well. Bye-bye.